All right, welcome back to the Ecamm Live Masterclass. This video, I'm going to talk about all of the different components and settings inside of Ecamm Live. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over to the top bar menu. We're going to click on Ecamm Live, and we're going to click on the Preferences tab. I want to show you this area first because sometimes it can get a little bit confusing as to what is what. So let me just make some arrangements so you can also see me at the exact same time. And the first thing here is the General tab. So I will reference this as the Ecamm Live Preferences window, and these are all tabs at the very top of this window. Now, generally speaking, most of these settings you can leave as it is by default. However, in different environments and different, purposes, you're going to need to make some changes. So listen to these settings carefully, and then you get to determine whether or not you need to switch these things around based on what your needs and desires are. So the first setting here is Play App Sounds. Now, this is going to enable some of the application audio trinkets, I guess, little sound bites from Ecamm Live. So as people are leaving comments, it'll play a little bit of a sound for you. I purposely leave this off because I do not want to hear those things. I can see it visually happening inside of Ecamm Live. So by default, that is off. Now you can enable that if you want to have those auditory signals. The second section here is Show Animated Reactions. So this allows you to see on your visual preview some of the reactions that are happening. So when you're live streaming to certain destinations such as YouTube, as well as Twitter and Instagram, as long as that connection has what is called an API or a direct connection, not RTMP, and by the way, we will dive into that a little bit deeper. If you want to skip right ahead, the link is right above here. But what the animated reactions are is you can see every time somebody hits a thumbs up and it shows up and animates on your preview window. And that allows you to kind of visually see that people are reacting to your live stream. So that's kind of fun and neat. The next section here is Show Camera Switcher in Main Window. Now that camera switcher is what you see hovering just below my face on this preview window. You can hide this. So if I go ahead and go back to here and I say show the camera switcher and I uncheck that camera switcher does not appear. This is really based on preference. By default, it is enabled. However, if you find that it is always in your way, what you can do is click on it and drag on that camera switcher to move that into another area if you would like. So that option is there for you. The next option here says Show Program Window while in other apps. There is a program window which will appear if you switch to another application. Now let me switch over to my browser on my computer. Actually, I'm going to hit record, and the program window only appears when you're actually recording or live streaming. So now I clicked on another active window. So on another display on my computer system, I'm actually clicked on my browser. And because Ecamm Live is not active, you immediately see what's called the program window. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into what each one of these windows and panels is in the next video. However, let me just briefly share with you that the big window that has all of the interface on it, this is called a preview window. And then this one is called your program window. Preview window means that what you see is what is going to happen if you are in preview mode, and the program window is what actually is being recorded or being streamed. So that's called the program feed. Now, because I have the browser as the active window, that program feed is visible here. Now, once I click back onto Ecamm, you'll notice that program feed disappears. So that's this option right here, Show Program Window while in other apps. I do like this option. I like having it enabled. I also like having it enabled all the time. And if you want to enable it all the time, what you do is you move into preview mode, and then the program window appears. And if you want to be in real-time mode, again, we'll get into that into another video, you can just go ahead and click on live mode again, and then this program window stays visible all the entire time. And if you wanted to close that program window, let's say I'm back into live mode, which means that everything I make in a change on this preview window will appear in the program in real time. I don't have to publish it every single time. Then you can just go ahead and go back into what we call live view mode and click on this little X, and that program window now disappears. All right, next one is called Keep Utility Windows in Front While Live. So all of these are all utility windows, these little panel windows that are all around your preview window. These are all the utility windows. Now, if you have different applications on the same display, those utility windows, you can keep them always in front. Now, this is only going to be used if you know that you just want Ecamm Live to always be in the forefront on that display and no other applications will be above it. Then you would enable this. However, for most of my usages, as well as actually all of my uses, as well as my clients, we will uncheck this option there. The next option here is clicking utility windows brings Ecamm Live into the foreground. What this does is, let's say I have an application, and let me just open a quick browser window, and I've got an application here, and it is now in the forefront, okay? What happens is, if I have this one option here, clicking utility windows brings Ecamm Live to the front, I can click on any one of these windows and it brings the entire Ecamm application to the front, aside from this preferences window. You'll notice if I uncheck this one, and it'll actually ask me to quit now, so let me just do that. What you'll notice now is that the browser window is active and in front, but if I now click on one of the panels, it's just the panel that appears, not the entire Ecamm application. So I'm just going to go back into the preferences window, and I like to have this enabled. So I'm going to go ahead and click on quit later so that I'm not interrupting this recording. And that's that setting there, which is, again, it's a preference. The next option here is automatic overlay alignment, and you have three options. You've got none, sticky, and snappy. Now, none is an option for you by default. It is under sticky. So let me just show you what that actually does here. I'm just going to change the automatic overlay alignment to none. I'm going to go to my overlays window here, and I'm just going to add a quick text box, sample, and I've got that there. So none basically means that this can go anywhere, and it's not really going to snap or stick to any of the edges or the safe zone or any other objects. So I'm just going to quickly duplicate this one, and you'll see that I can move it and it doesn't do anything. Now, if I go ahead and change this over to sticky, what will happen is you see these little guidelines that appear on the two different overlays. They now can stick to each other, and this helps me with alignment. You notice that when I move the overlay over to the edges as well, you'll see this blue line that happens on the outside. That's kind of like a safe zone. So things are inside that area. You'll know that they won't get cut off depending upon different settings on people's browsers, or people's screens and things like that. So that's called sticky. Now, snappy is very similar to sticky in that the behavior of the movement of all the different overlays is slightly modified. By default, I just leave it on sticky because I do like to have the different overlays that are aligned properly. Now, you'll have overlays aligning to other overlays in different thirds, like edges, as well as centers. And then you'll also have the overlays lining to the actual screen itself. So this is a 1920 by 1080 or a 16 by 9 ratio. So you'll see that I got everything vertically and horizontally centered. And then as well as if you move it around a little bit and slow down, sometimes you'll actually catch what is the 25%. So this is the quarter mark, the center mark, and there'll be another quarter mark here. So you can use these features to move and align all of your overlays how you wish. Now, the next option here says when returning to live mode with unpublished changes, what should you do? Always ask, publish, or revert the changes. This has to do with the live and preview mode. As mentioned, we have preview mode off by default, which means that every change that you make inside of this preview window will appear directly on that live stream. And I'll show you exactly what that looks like. So I'm going to remember this window here, the program window, is what's actually being recorded or streamed in real time. This is what the public is going to see. Now I'm going to add that overlay and the text overlay that I created, and it's called sample. So you'll see over here on the program window, every time I move the word sample, it is actually going to be moving. So if you were live streaming to YouTube, your audience members will actually see the word sample hovering around my head and moving like that, like a ghost. Now in preview mode, this is going to be different. So when I enable preview mode, you'll notice that I make the moves on the word sample, but it doesn't happen on the program window. So this allows you to make changes to the scene without it being visible or seen on the actual recording or the live stream. Now, this is great for producers. This is great for people who are, either producing remotely, producing locally for another talent. Also, the talent themselves, if they need to make changes. Let's say you have a guest on and you made a spelling error on their name. Well, you can make that change without going into all the windows and doing all that stuff while the public is seeing all these switches. So you can go ahead and say, well, you know what? Instead of sample, it's actually Daniel. It's supposed to say Daniel, and it's supposed to be on the bottom right corner. Well, I can do that, and then I can go ahead and hit publish, and then that will make that change. So go ahead and hit publish. You'll see all of a sudden the word Daniel is now on the bottom right section of the program window. However, this option here says when returning to live mode with unpublished changes, should it ask just publish it anyway, or should it revert back to the original setting? So let's now move Daniel to the top right section. And if I go back into what we call live mode to make it so that everything that I move or do shows up in real time, this will now prompt me to ask. So I'm going to hit live mode and it says, do you want to publish this or do you want to revert back to those original changes? So you'll see if I publish this, Daniel now moves into the top right corner. But if I now do this and I go into preview mode and I move it back, okay, remember, publicly, it says Daniel on the bottom right. But if I go into live mode and I say revert changes, watch this area here. It's going to go, this area here, it's going to go move back down to where it originally was so that nothing happens to the published or broadcast or program video feed. Now that by default, I leave it to ask. However, you can just say publish it or revert always changes. And that setting will allow you to figure out what customization you need on that. Now, the last section here under the first tab is automatically hide comment overlays after 15 seconds. So there's a feature that allows us to add comments coming in from the live streams and put that on our display. And when you do that, you can actually have that comment stay on forever and you have to manually hide that comment, or you can have that comment hide automatically. So you can change the number of seconds here and just have to check that. And every time a new comment is showed or displayed on the screen, it will automatically count down and hide after that certain period of time. I hope you're really enjoying this Ecamm Live Masterclass because this has been an absolute joy for me to actually create. And the reason why is because I just love Ecamm Live and I love the whole aspect of content creation, and I hope that you do as well. So please go ahead, leave some comments below. Let me know how you feel about this. Let me know if you have other questions about the specific topic that I'm sharing in this video. And another thing that I really want you to do right now is I want you to go ahead and scan this QR code or click the link in the description below, because this is where I'm going to be housing not only just this Ecamm Live Masterclass, but a lot of cool extras that are not going to be found on YouTube. So you have to register for absolutely for free in order to grab this content. It's in my member portal. So go ahead, scan the QR code or click the link in the description, and I will see you on the other side. Now, back to the regular show. All right, so that wraps up the general tab. Let's go over to the account tab and click over here to watch that video.